Now, the reason I mention speaking publicly is that something like 54% of the American public would rather die than give a talk in public. They put the fear of public speaking ahead of the fear of death. It's one of the greatest of all fears in our society. However, no child is born as afraid of public speaking. No child comes into the world with a fear of speaking in front of audiences. As a matter of fact, every one of us gave our first public talk stark naked, upside down, in front of a room full of strangers, if you remember that, and it's been downhill for most of us ever since. If you have a series of external experiences, however, and all of those experiences are positive, then they're stored away as positive reports in the public speaking file. However, let us say that you have a tremendous feeling of anxiety about speaking, and that can come from 100 different reasons, but you begin to play on the screen of your mind. You have this continuous reel projector. You begin to play on the screen of your mind a picture of yourself speaking effectively in front of a group. You begin to read about other people who speak effectively. You begin to read the books of successful speakers who tell how they did it and how nervous they were. You begin to take a course and you begin to study and you begin to learn how to do it. You begin to learn how to prepare and to outline a talk, and you begin thinking about yourself over and over again as capable of doing it. The picture that you play on the screen of your mind is accepted by the subconscious as a real experience as long as you vividly imagine it. And this is the key. It is the vividness of the picture. The more clearly you visualize it, the more frequently you visualize it, the more emotionally or intensely you visualize it, and the longer you visualize it, the more of an impact it has on the subconscious mind, so that you can, in many respects, actually become halfway or three-quarters of the way toward being a competent speaker or being confident in almost anything simply by visualizing and playing this picture over and over again. By the way, I use the example of speaking in public for a very specific reason. Most of us are afraid of it. And what I have found is that if you can use these methods of mental programming to eliminate one major fear that may be holding you back in life, you will prove to yourself forever that you can eliminate any self-limiting belief and overcome it and go on to accomplish what you want. I have given this advice to thousands of people. It's simply this: if you have an uneasiness with regard to public speaking or any other fear, but public speaking for this example, make the decision right now to get over it.
Now, I know there's more than one way to do well. I understand that. But in this little narrow area called compensation, what's the difference? Well, back then, with my faulty thinking, I'm trying to reason it out. I thought, well, maybe time makes some of the difference, right? Some people do better because they have more time. I used to say, Harold ought to be able to do well. He's got a lot of time. If I had all of Harold's time, I could do well. Now, that's got to be dumb, right? Number one, you can't get somebody else's time. A guy says to me one time, he says, you know, if I had some extra time, I could make some extra money. I said, then forget it. There isn't any extra time. Hey, when the clock strikes 12 midnight, that about wraps it up, right? I mean, you can look around the gongs there for a little more, but it's over. You say to the guy, what are you doing? He said, I'm looking for extra time. See, they'll come and take you away, right? There isn't any more time. Now, if you can't get more time, which you can't, what could you get more of that would make a difference in economic results? And here's the key word. Make it a part of your notes. We're going to consider it tonight. The word is value. And I have a little phrase for your notes. Value makes the difference in results. Value makes the difference. You can't get more time, but you can create more value.
Now, here's two ways that you can get over it. Toastmasters. Does this method work? Well, I'll guarantee you that it works. Toastmasters was set up in 1923 as an organization, a voluntary organization. Groups of men and women come together, small groups. They meet once a week, and they have breakfast, lunch, and or dinner meetings. And at each meeting, each person has a chance to talk. People who are so terrified of public speaking they could not lead silent prayer in a phone booth, after 10 or 15 weeks in Toastmasters are capable of standing up with 1 minute's notice and giving an extemporaneous talk in front of an audience of strangers. Toastmasters works. Why? It's because every single time a person stands up, they get positive feedback, they get correction, they get advice, they get applause, they get support. Eventually, what you do is you build up a whole series of positive reports in your subconscious mind that says, when it comes to public speaking, it's easy. If you want to be effective at selling, if you want to be effective at leading, if you want to be effective as a parent, if you want to be effective with other human beings, all you have to do is practice over and over again, and practice in your mind over and over until eventually you will find that when you think about whatever it is, the fear level will go down, confidence level will go up. By the way, one other area that you can go to if you want to learn to be more capable speaking is Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie has a wonderful course, which is just called the Dale Carnegie course, which really helps people become proficient in public speaking. Over 10 to 14 weeks, you get an opportunity every single week to get up and speak in front of your peers. The next is affirmation. Now, with affirmations, your potential is unlimited. Affirmations are the most powerful words that you can possibly say. Affirmations are based on what we call the 3 Ps. In that, with affirmations, we reprogram ourselves unconsciously. Affirmations are strong, positive, assertive statements that you say about yourself, to yourself, and believe. And they're based on the 3 Ps. And the Ps are, first of all, personal. All affirmations, all statements that you say to yourself have to be couched in the personal tense, the I. If you say, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. When you say, I like myself, it accesses the subconscious directly. Every single command that begins with an I opens the subconscious mind and says, valuable information coming down. Prepare or get ready. And also positive. All affirmative statements must be couched in the positive tense, because the subconscious mind filters out negative and only takes the words that the positive expression. For example, if you wanted to quit smoking, you wouldn't say, I don't smoke anymore. I don't smoke anymore. You would say, I am a non-smoker. I am a non-smoker. The words I am are 2 of the most powerful words in mental programming. When you say I am, because only you can say I am about you. In the whole world, nobody else can use those 2 words with regard to you. And your subconscious recognizes that when you say I am responsible, I am responsible, you can actually imagine the feeling that would accompany the words. When you say I like myself, you don't say I like myself. You say I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. Imagine when you say I am responsible, you don't say I am responsible. You say I am responsible. I am responsible. In other words, emotionalize it, wrap it up with emotion, drive it into the subconscious mind like a detonator, and the effect that it will have on your personality and on your feelings will be tremendous. Now, again, with regard to affirmations, what I use is a series of index cards, and you can put your affirmations, your positive present tense personal statements on affirmations, and review those affirmations over and over again. Every time you review them, every time you think about them, every time you repeat them and drive them into the subconscious mind, every time you impress them, you increase the potential for them to be expressed externally. Now, one final thing is when you use affirmations, try to keep your daily words and actions consistent with your affirmations. Try to keep the things that you say when you're walking around and the things that you do consistent with the words that you say to yourself in private. All right, the next thing that we do is what is called verbalization. Verbalization is speaking aloud, speaking your affirmations aloud. Now, there's 2 ways that you can do this. Best to do it in private, but basically you increase the impact of an affirmation by as much as 80% and even more when you say it out loud. If you say to yourself, I like myself, or you say, I like myself, or I feel terrific, or I feel wonderful, or I am responsible, I earn $50,000 a year. When I first learned about this process, my goal was to earn $50,000 a year, and I realized that the only way I could ever earn $50,000 a year was by repeating this over and over again. And surprisingly enough, when I began doing it, I was not making anywhere near $50,000, and I was very, very skeptical of whether or not it would work. I can only tell you from the bottom of my heart that it does work. So verbalize it. Another thing that you can do is in front of a mirror. If you verbalize in front of a mirror, you have 2 impacts working simultaneously. You have the impact of what you can see, plus what you are saying, plus if you emotionalize what you are saying, you have 3 access points to reprogramming the subconscious working simultaneously. If you stand in front of a mirror, you can say, in front of the mirror, you can say, I feel terrific, or I look great, or I look great, or you can say, you look great. Because when we talk to ourselves in front of a mirror, now you mustn't do this in a public washroom when there's other people around, because they may think you're a little bit strange, But nonetheless, verbalization is a very important part of driving this message into the subconscious. Remember, the key to this is whatever you can hold in your mind on a continuing basis, you can have. The only question is, can you repeat it long enough and hard enough, often enough, to impress it permanently in the subconscious mind? Once you impress it permanently in the subconscious mind, it takes on a power of its own that will eventually bring it into your reality at exactly the right time and in exactly the right way for you. And this, have you ever had the occasion where you are sitting comfortably, relaxed, and somebody says, come on, let's go and do this, or let's get up and do that? You say, no, I'm comfortable. Remember, you're into your comfort zone. Comfort is a great killer of human potential. You say, no. They say, oh, come on, just get up and do a little bit. So you get up just a little bit and you move just a little bit, and as you begin to move, you start to get into the swing of it, and pretty soon you get into it completely, and you totally forget about going back to the couch or the chair that you were in. Well, you can act your way into feeling. You can act your way into feeling almost anything. We call this, if you like, pretending. Pretend that you have the quality already. For instance, if you want to be courageous and unafraid, pretend that you're courageous and unafraid already. If you want to be confident, pretend that you have the confidence. There's an old saying that says, fake it until you make it. Fake it until you make it. Remember, we talked about the gentleman who was told that he was the reincarnation of Napoleon, that all he had to do was he had to act like Napoleon and realize that on the court. And you know what will happen is that judges and people observing a person doing this find that you will hit more accurately, you hit with more force, you are better, you are more confident, you're more capable. Golfers. Another example is, if you want to be a great golfer, is imagine that you are already a great golfer. If you want to be a great salesperson, imagine that you are already a great salesperson, and walk, talk, carry, act as though you had the part already. Dress the part. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, do I look the part of a great golfer? Do I look the part of the executive, the salesman, or the saleswoman, or whatever it happens to be that I would like to be? These four, we call this the VAVA. V-A-V-A. V-A-V-A. Actually, I should do it this way. V-A-V-A. These are the keys to rapid personality change. The V is for visualization. Visualize and play the picture of the desired person you would like to be over and over again until it is accepted by the subconscious as a reality. Remember, the subconscious obeys your conscious command. If you command the subconscious, and you command the subconscious by the thoughts you hold in your conscious mind, by the thoughts that you dwell upon, the law of concentration. If you hold that thought in your mind on a continuing basis, eventually it clicks into the subconscious and it takes on a power of its own. The second is to affirm, and affirm over and over again. There are many people who say that they would rather go without breakfast than go without their affirmations each morning. Speak to yourself positively. Use positive self-talk all the time. Remember, you talk to yourself at the rate of almost 1,500 words a minute. Most people talk to themselves in terms of doubt and fear and worry and anxiety. Talk to yourself positively. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Just repeating, I can do it. I can do it over and over again. Boost your self-confidence and boost your self-esteem. When you have nothing else to do, say, I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. Because saying I like myself or I love myself expands your ability and your capacity in every area of your life. Also, verbalize. Speak out loud. Make sure the things that you say out loud are consistent with the person that you want to be and the things that you want to do. Verbalize and say, I like myself. Don't say aloud things that, like, I'm never on time, I can't lose weight, I can't quit smoking, I wish I could, and so on. But always speak in positive terms. Remember that you can almost double the force of an affirmation by speaking it aloud. And you speak it really loud, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. You speak it really loud and really strong, it has double, triple, sometimes several times the impact. And finally, assume the role. Pretend as though you already had the part. Assume the role. Imagine you have been hired to play the role of an extremely successful person in a Broadway play. And in this role, what you are going to do is you're going to walk, talk, and act as though you were the success, as though you were the role model, as though you were the ideal image of the perfect person that you want to become. And if you walk it, talk it, pretend it, visualize it, think it, and affirm it over and over again, that is the person that you become, as inevitably as the sun rising in the east